Maybe the cable could be broken, so I hope it's. You let me know if that happens again, please. So the word which in the passage which we're talking about is 1 John 4-16, where it says God is love. But the word for love in this passage is agape.
Mm.
That's the phrase here. The thing is, though, I don't think agape is understood in the English language nor German. I think even especially in the cultural sense these days, when people think of love, they think of what the Greeks would have called eros, which is why we have this LGBTQ RSTV plus movement going on, because they say God is eros, and that's it doesn't matter. Love is love. That's been what they're saying is eros. So that's why I say there's immaturity to it, a lack of clarity. But it could be just simply that people were different in those days. But there are other phrases, of course. You've got philos as well, which is another kind of love. So there are different types of love which need to be clarified, I think, which he
And
doesn't do
then
at all.
and
And
then
that's
the
why I say it's
Latin
immature.
and then Latin caritas,
Charity.
which is used in the Old King James.
So, so that's the only reason why I said I think there's an immaturity there, because to be to the point, and to ensure that we don't cause, you don't start a ball rolling down the hill, which
Mm.
starts to gather momentum by itself, and by the 20th, 21st century has become something completely different, because everybody loved to say, God is love, without actually saying, actually, you know what, God is agape, and we need to
Mm.
start learning what agape is. That's a different thing. Agape is not schmaltzy, for a start. Agape is sacrifice. Agape is devotion. Agape, that is the essence of putting your life down for your brother. And a man has no greater love than to lay his life down for his friends. So this is really the essence here, is that God is sacrifice. And I think that's why I like the latter part of what he was saying there, because he's basically saying that this sacrifice of yourself when you pray, you're not praying for any needs. If you pray for anything, it's a form of idolatry. You're not supposed to pray for anything. You're only supposed to pray to God alone and for his glory. And also this sort of annihilation of the self, which he makes reference to again there, is in keeping with this. So I think that he gets the point, and he's on the point. But the problem is he didn't clarify that enough, I think, at the beginning, to make clear that when he's talking about love, what we're talking about is sacrifice and devotion. And I think that it's very sad in the world we live today that people don't have a concept of devotion. That's what's missing. That's what it means when people's hearts have gone hardened. They don't know what devotion is anymore. And devotion is the beating heart of love. Without devotion, there is no love. There is eros, sure, there's philos, but there is no agape. There's no agape without devotion.
And as a
So,
Christian believer, I receive that message from the New Testament because it is a message to inspire us with the devotion of our Rebbe, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, because he gave his life. And we should follow. We have to
and
follow.
you
We're
keep
going
on
to
doing
follow
it.
and follow into this world that's going to get even more eviler.
Yeah.
And it's going to be more opposing us
Yeah.
when we speak the truth that we have to keep on the way. As
And the
Romans
point,
9 and go ahead.
I was going to say, the point at which we give up is the point at which we realize we never had any agape in us at all whatsoever. Because if you think you are devoted, right, 99% of the time, and then that 1%, you say, I can't take it anymore, and you give up. You never knew what devotion was. You didn't have the concept of devotion, because devotion doesn't give up. Devotion doesn't say, I can't take it anymore. Devotion says, I'm going to take it a little bit more. I can always reach into God and get that little bit more, that little bit more, that little bit more, which keeps me going. That is devotion. To realize that there is something out there which is greater than you, that you can tap into, which when your whole body, your whole human psyche says, I can't take it anymore, you can just say, well, that's the human speaking. Now I'm going to tap into God, who can take it forever. And I can take it a little bit more. That's devotion. And once you can tap into that, you have tapped into agape. You have tapped into the love which is being spoken of in this essay here, this sermon here. And without stopping, counting to 10 and saying, actually, I can take it a little bit more. Unless you can do that, you don't know what love is. That's agape love, I'm saying. You don't know what you may know what eros is, you may know what philos is, but you don't know what agape is until you can say, all right, let me take it a little bit more.
Thank you, Joe, for also shattering the misconceptions. This is pure Romaniat Minhag. It is the exaltation of the Judeo-Greek, which our New Testament has been written in, because so many out there who think when a Jew speaks, or they're going to speak in Hebrew and use the concepts from the Kehela, that truly they have privy to. But here we have the extension of the love of God to the nations. And the nations should be receiving this through the Lord Jesus Christ, who was given to us as the perfect example, as I've stated before. So thank you, Joe. And just to understand again this wonderful gift that you have given to us.
Well, thank you for bringing this beautiful sermon to our attention, and the hymn that went with it as well.
And your commentary.
Well, all I did is just remind people to keep checking on the original, what they call the Koine Greek, which is actually Judeo-Greek, Yavanit. It's actually the language of the Romaniot Jews. It is the culture, the language, and the context of Romaniot Judaism, which Christians lack, which they need to get back into contact with in order to make sure that they do not go astray. Because you see what happens with 50,000 Christian sects and everyone believing they're right. That's what happens when people lose the context of the Romaniot Judaism, which Christianity is supposed to be nestled within. It's the nest, and these are the chicks, and they have to stay inside the nest. They're not ready to fly, and they won't be ready to fly until he comes again in glory to judge the living and the dead. And that's the simple fact of the matter. So stay nestled in the nest, and you won't go wrong. Keep receiving the nourishment that the mother bird is coming to feed you, and stay in the nest. The nest is Romaniot Judaism, and don't forget the meanings of these words, and you will not go astray. I just wish that it's not too late, and I pray that 2024 we can really make an impact with the Christ mission this year, so that by the end of this year we can say, yes, we did something good this year. We made an impact this year. I hope that we can, and that I think that one thing which is really missing is this concept of devotion. I think maybe it's good to launch this new year with this concept of devotion, agape, right? So that we can try and restore to the minds and the concept of devotion to these younger generation, especially, who are growing up without a concept of devotion because they've grown up seeing everything as what they call consume society, consumerism, making people never having any devotion. Just buy something new, trade something in, get to the newest model, switch channels, anything which is just stimulating your immediate senses. That's what they're after. And the concept of devotion has been lost because they've been growing up often with broken families, mother and father who don't live together, or at least a biological mother and father who don't live together. And that is a result of lack of devotion in the parenting, which means the parents were unfit, or at least one of the parents was unfit to raise a child in the first place. Because, of course, if one parent lacks devotion, the other parent cannot continue to be devoted. Otherwise, in this world we live in, you get court orders slapped upon you and all sorts of sort of anti-harassment orders and stuff like that. So you've just got to let go if one side is not devoted to the other side. And that's what the children are growing up without a concept of devotion. They don't grow up with a concept of devotion. And so I hope we can try to, melt these hardened stone hearts which we are surrounded by, which is only getting worse because of the cold blast of that freezing air of consumerism which is being sprayed upon them from the beast's militaristic capitalism, which ensures that all people will receive the mark of the beast and nobody will buy or sell unless they are subscribers to that. That we can try to put some warm air to melt those hearts and to break those stiff necks, so that we can maybe get a little bit of grape juice out of these grapes which need to be crushed. Please, God, let us be able to do something like that this year, as much as we can, even as small as we are. 1,000 can do a lot, and we have, Baruch Hashem, 2,000 subscribers on this channel, so that's pretty good. It's a good start, and with that in mind, hopefully we can go further. Is there anything else you'd like to add to this, brother?
Thank you, Joe. Very well said. Very well said.
Okay,
Thank
then.
you.
Well, we have a greeting from Timbarang. Thank you so much for coming along watching this, Timbarang. Happy New Year to you, and Shalom Lachem to you too. We will look forward to seeing you all in the new year. God bless you all. Take care, and Shalom. Bye-bye.
Shalom.